Hello everyone, this is Vicar General Cardinal Kelly Patrick, and today I want to go over the comfortable lie. Some of you say you're about Christ, but Christ is not about the comfortable lie. And there's a lot of false doctrine out there right now. There's a lot of people who are willfully accepting lies, rejecting knowledge. Hosea 4:6 is very clear about that message that people will experience destruction as a result of that, rejecting knowledge. You can discern whether it's a truth or a lie through simple research and checking things out. But often I've noticed our saints and messengers deliver a lot of their information with a lot of solid information and proof and evidence and facts and logic and scripture, and it's still rejected because, gee, my pastor didn't teach me that, my mom didn't teach me that, my father didn't teach me that, whatever their reasons or excuses are. Over 2,000 years ago, Christ did not teach the comfortable lie. That's why he was controversial. You weren't there, so that's probably why it's easy for you to forget. I don't know why. You guys made Hollywood movies about it, you read about it, you tell stories about it. You knew that the Pharisees and the conspirators, conspired to crucify him. First they trumped up everything and they put him away. They arrested him, detained him, tortured him, and then crucified. All because he wasn't an Orthodox rabbi? Murdered because he was not an Orthodox rabbi. What does that say about you as a human? What does that say about the quality of your soul when you do not respect life? And then they create Noahide laws. It's a contradiction. We can uphold a law, God's laws, because they are God's laws, and we will maintain that. We will not contradict it. I'm really sick of mankind's ways. It's toxic. And it's a majority of the masses that are like this. So it's really no wonder that they made a script from long ago to learn how to contend with it all, and that God's been just patiently waiting for people to correct their ways. But we're at the stage of World War III. Israel is surrounded. America is Babylon. They've sold out their own. They're going to turn upon themselves as they already have. I guess I am pretty blunt. I just cut to the chase. But this is not about fluffiness and making you feel good about doing stupid things. This is about truth, I don't receive tithes or donations for this. I'm just doing this because it's the truth. And if people want to send something to the Lord, that's great. If they want to send something to us, that's great. But, I'm not gonna lie to you to get your support, to get you to be a viewer. That's not even anywhere in my agenda. My only agenda is truth according to God's will and way and his son. Okay, so know this. You say that it's your life, okay? But it was through God's divine spark that you even exist. So that means you have a duty to make your life more meaningful, not just for yourself, but for others too. That's why they always say God has a plan. His original plan for entirety of mankind, when he discovered that, they're here through my divine spark, but through, the making of the creators who carry that divine spark, his plan for you would be what he is to act in according to his way and his will. But guess who also has plans? Satan has plans. So here's your duty. You must be wise to know which one to battle and which one to embrace. So, it's pretty simple and straightforward, isn't it? But you'll find a way to make it complicated, or to allow a snake to come in and weave reasons. Just stop that. Just, grab the bull by the horns. This is your life. You're not controlled by Satan or his demons or minions or flesh. Okay? You fight against the principalities of darkness. Win. That's the purpose, is to win. Christ was crucified by his conspirators because leadership of the world was threatened by his existence. They knew his destiny long before he was even born. Remember that. You have to remember that. And so leadership has always been like, oh, there's that guy that's going to take over. He's going to make me look bad, and they're not going to listen to me anymore. And, and he's controversial. We're not used to that. We're used to this, and this is how we control our people. And this is how I control my son and daughter, and it's pretty complex. Man has made it pretty complicated, and they've created their own agenda and then passed it down throughout the lifetime. So that way, anything else sounds preposterous to people who are seeking truth and enlightenment, or preposterous to, the sheeple, and then make others who are seeking the truth feel stupid, or who's preaching the truth feel stupid, or satanic even. That's even worse, is you've got people who are teaching the truth, and you've got churches that are like, oh, blasphemy, that's satanic. What? It's throughout the entire Bible that Christ is an illuminated being. Not just a being, he's a demigod. He's that by definition, he's the Son of God, which means demigod. Okay? Why would you expect to not be corrected by him? When he returns, why would you expect his elect to not speak with you? It's very clear in the Bible that he has saints, and that he brings them back, and that people do reincarnate. That's how they expected, many of the saints who are going to be, showing the way of the Lord and ushering him in, announcing him to the world. So try to just put these things together, and it helps, increase your understanding. But as a result of everything that happened, Satan rules the earth, and we have to keep reminding people of this. Along with his, Satan's demonic minions, and his influence is strong upon the earth. To prove them unworthy, that's his agenda, is to prove them unworthy of the kingdom of God. So naturally, everything that he has taught, that the Lord has taught, was hidden, covered up, watered down, twisted, and now it's always considered controversial, taboo. And, you're wanting us to always poke people's eyes out and make them feel guilty for, this or that, sexual preferences, for example. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The only reason that they changed any of that to begin with is to accommodate for underpopulation at one time. It wasn't because God was like, I hate gays. No, he never hated you for your preferences. No guilting, no shaming of that. If you're being responsible and this is an act that is consensual, then there's not to be any guilting or shaming for your preferences or acts. I was just talking about this earlier. Yes, I know that there's a difference between pleasure and joy, okay? But it doesn't mean you can't have sex. And I should probably save this for another sermon so I can finish this one in particular with you. So I'll stay focused. We'll get back to that shortly. But yes, everything is made to be controversial because the way the world is, the mindset is, they're always using, different tools to control people. And they, sadly enough, use the Bible, picked out bits and pieces of it, and throughout the rest that was too controversial. And so that way mankind's like only understanding half of what Christ is really about. Yes, he's still your Redeemer. Yes, he's still the Son of God. Yes, he is still a being of great love. But he has fury too, just like the book of Revelation teaches. And it's for a reason. It's because you're destroying each other. You're polluting the earth. You're really just messing everything up. It's not a good thing. When he shed light on truth, they were repulsed by it back then. And nothing's changed. And now they still reject his teachings because, hey, it's not man's way, it's not my preacher's way. That's not what they taught me in Sunday school. I mean, you would probably say the same thing, if you drink alcohol or Coca-Cola or, a glass of poison every day. It doesn't matter, it's still going to kill you, okay? You got to recognize at some point when you have something that is bad, that's not real, it has no substance, and when to let go of that. And stop doing it just because they sell it to you. All right? Don't keep doing it just because it feels good. Now, it's not the comfortable lies that lead people straight off the cliff. Okay? It is the comfortable lies that lead them straight off the cliff. But what I'm trying to say, it's not what he taught. Okay, he was teaching them truth so they wouldn't fall off, spiritually off this cliff into HE double hockey sticks. Okay, that drops them off, yes, in a very hot place. But are you going to tell people to enter, a burning house just because they tithe to you? It's a preposterous thing. It's a blasphemous thing that mankind, okay, how hard can it be to stop and just admit, hey, this truth was revealed to me, congregation. I got to tell you, what we've been teaching you is wrong, and we have got to get on the track of truth and light now. Let's all repent. How wrong could that be? What are you really doing this for? Money? Is it only the money? Do you believe remotely in God and true salvation? At some point you got to put your pride and glory and greed to the side and say, I'm going to make a change. And you might be surprised at God's blessing that he will give you for that truth. I'm not saying that people will treat you good at first, but in the end you will know paradise ever after with the Lord if you really follow his pathway. You owe it to the masses to tell them the truth. But they don't even know what truth is anymore. They don't recognize it because man has been brainwashing them for so long through the influence of Satan's plan to prove mankind as gullible and unworthy. Okay, because if it was really here, they would say at some point to themselves, something's not right, something's not adding up. Let me go look this up. Let me study the Bible a little more. Let me understand what that one thing meant. There's a few things that people I'm noticing don't study what that meant. They never did study, in Genesis, whenever he said that man was, created in our image. Okay, that meant that, God didn't actually take care of that initial act. They carried his divine spark and DNA and integrated it. But instead, they just kind of magically just passed over that meaning and teach something else. And it's the same thing with other scriptures. They just kind of take it and contort it or just conveniently turn their heads. Like the many times in the book of Revelations when it's mentioned that Christ will return with a new name. More than once. Revelation 19:12. Why is it so hard to talk about that in depth? And you may notice, it's pretty plain vanilla, okay? You don't have to dissect that and turn it into something else, or try to pretend like, oh, that what he really meant was. No, that is false doctrine. Stop it. That's why he teaches in the end, when people are like, Jesus is here, Jesus is there. Number one, he uses a new name. And number two, he didn't claim himself. Christ did return, but there were others that had to tell him that he was the Son of God. Okay, that's another story. We'll go over that another time. But keep in mind, the churches are still like the conspirators that crucified Christ long ago. They still detest his truth. They act sanctimonious, but they still detest his truth. I got kicked out of Paul Begley's Facebook congregation today because I told them the difference between Satan and Lucifer. I went over all the scriptures, the evidence, everything. And I was still stamped as like some kind of, I don't know what, but I was banned because I didn't conform to their way of hate and fear and ignorance. I didn't subscribe to it. And where I did share logic and evidence, they just deleted it and they left everything else that I said. So it's not something we're just imagining here. The great falling away from the church is a very real thing, and it's a worldwide problem. Look at the Pope right now. He's like the prime example of like one foot, acting like one way, and another foot, doing another thing. And it's not a very healthy, thing for the masses. It's like Satan it's the great deception worldwide. Okay, and people are falling for it. They don't have to, but they're lazy, so they don't want to investigate anything. They rather just follow, and that's why they refer to people as sheeple. So the Holy Bible was mistranslated many times, and it was misinterpreted, tooled, and Gospels missing. So if you really do truly think otherwise, it's time to take a little history lesson. Go research it, It's a very real thing. I'm always catching people in false doctrine being planted within the hearts of the innocent and sadly gullible because they're easy to manipulate. It's sad, but it's happening at a great rate and magnitude, and it's very dangerous because masses, thinking that way can create great chaos, as they already have. One thing leads to another. When hate and fear are perpetuated and become cyclical, that energy raises the ability for more demonic activity and influence. Here we are at the end of the end. It's no wonder that people are, killing, maiming, torturing. You've got Africa. People are like eating each other while they're alive. This is just a foreshadowing, people, of what's going to happen worldwide. All right, outer darkness is already fermenting. When they talk about outer darkness, it's not hell, okay, but it's pretty darn close to it. And it's the people that reject Christ that will dwell there. So it's very important that, we try to become more aware. To really love God and love each other is to, offer the blazing light of truth and deliver it. And if they reject it, okay, well, we know what happens. I'm sure they feel the same way about us too. But you can see clear difference. On our end, we offer evidence, and it's scriptural, it's biblical evidence. And then on their end, they're just, it's perception. And you would think it was just transparent to them. But centuries of being misled, it's called cognitive dissonance, it's called brainwashing, and it's sadly perpetuated by the masses. So when I challenge people who claim to love Christ, but they don't preach what actually is in the Bible to start with, and they twist it, it's reaching a doctrine of hate, confusion, ignorance, and that, my friend, is satanic. They are actually acting in the way of Antichrist. But instead they're still preaching that there is a Antichrist, like a single person. And if you notice, every week they make it a different one. It's like Antichrist of the week, Oh, it's the Pope. No, we're wrong about the Pope. It's so-and-so. No, it's going to be so-and-so. It's like, Antichrist means anything or anybody that is against Christ or his way, contrary to. Knowledge, don't reject it. All right, so it looks like people don't want the truth, because they're all waiting for it to happen the way that man teaches, the way, in every respect and way. They want to control how Christ should return, how he should look, how he should act, when, they're just not going to get it, because they're about the comfortable lie. So I don't know what to say other than, if you're seeking the Lord and you're really seeking his truth, you're going to take that next step outside of the little fear thing, and you're going to ask questions, and you're going to seek, and you're going to truly ask yourself, why do I want so desperately to cling to this notion or this idea or this mentality, when God has provided me with this knowledge? It's not comfortable because I'm used to what I've been taught all these years, but this is different. Is that a reason to reject it because it's different? So think about it. Anyway, I know I've gone on too long. Love you. Till the next time.